This is TV Black Box, bringing you the inside goss from the TV industry.
Well, it's time to talk Big Brother, and the next evictee from the house was none other than Gabby, who was eliminated tonight. Hey, Gabby, welcome to TV Black Box.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Grateful to be here.
Oh, look, it's been great watching you on the show. You've sort of had to do the whole thing alone. You haven't had that big team that you've been on. You were sort of trying to just survive the whole time, it felt like to me.
Yeah, survival is definitely key in the Big Brother house. But yeah, I'd never really thought of it like that. It's hard, and I think at the core of Big Brother, it's obviously a social experiment. So as you start to develop friendships and deeper relationships, when they end up on both sides of the teams, it starts to get awfully tricky to navigate.
Tonight it was interesting because Tim did not vote for you. And so were you surprised by that, or did you expect him to be one of the 4 that voted for you?
No, Tim is a wild card through and through, and Tim definitely plays his own game. However, underneath it all, Tim and I had a really beautiful friendship. So a part of me is always terrified of everything he continues to do and did in my time in the house. But a part of me knew if it was do or die that Tim would have my back.
It was a very hard vote for Alicia. She was in tears in the diary room. It wasn't actually revealed who she voted for tonight, but she said her heart was with you, but her head said Brenton. I'm going to assume that it was 4 votes to 2 that she voted to eliminate you and evict you. How do you feel about that?
I can confirm that it wasn't Leash.
Ah.
Yeah, so I got hugged on my way out by both Tim and Alicia, and they said, it's not us. So,
okay, that's good to know. That was interesting.
I know. Obviously, I'm waiting to see. So I know for a fact that it wasn't Alicia. The way I do go is at the hands of the OGs who I have supported throughout this entire game, which is even more heartbreaking. I mean, as much as I adore Alicia, she's similar to Tim. Alicia does what Alicia needs to do for her own game. As much as
for sure.
We had a really incredible friendship aside from the game, but then been times when I'd spoken to her and I said, look, is our friendship worth more than this game? And she could never really give me somewhat of a straight answer. So I was aware that Alicia was very much, I was never sure where Alicia stood with me, but we were really close. So I wouldn't doubt how hard the decision would have been to make. But if Alicia had let me down, I don't think it would have caught me by surprise the same way that when I found out Estelle voted for me was pretty crushing.
Yes, I can imagine that was hard. And she's been an interesting player in the house, of course. Speaking of Estelle, Tim, and the OGs, you sort of did latch onto them. And were you surprised at how that alliance imploded?
To a degree. I feel the OGs, as much as they'd played Big Brother before, this is nothing like what I think any of them kind of expected. So
I agree with that.
For their implosion, I honestly genuinely believe it was inevitable. And even like Reggie, for example, kept coming for me after the amount of times I had said, I'm not coming for you, Reggie. And even like funny.
Reggie gets ideas into her head.
Yeah, I'm like, Big Brother, are you who is talking to Reggie? Who is planting this weird seed in her brain? So, but Reggie's very similar to Estelle, where once they've made their mind up, that's it. So It was really hard to kind of tell Reggie, like, I'm not coming for you. I don't want to be the one to send the queen home. And I knew that going into the experience. Well, once I'd worked out what we were playing, I wasn't brave enough to do it. Would have happily stood there with her at top 3 and probably lose.
I was about to say it's a brave call to go up against Reggie in the final 3.
Absolutely, but I think, for me, being naturally born a very competitive person, just making it to the end would have been incredible. I didn't really mind who was next to me. I didn't think that strategically towards the end. I wanted an all 3 girls, sorry boys. I wanted a top 3 full of ladies, and I wouldn't have minded if I was standing there with any of the girls that are kind of left. It would have been beautiful, but no, it didn't turn out that way.
No, that's fair enough. When you look back at the episodes, because obviously Big Brother is different now to how it was in Reggie and Estelle's and Tim's day when they didn't see what was happening. It was all unfolding in the 24-hour period when things happened. But now you've shot it, you've gone home, you've lived your life, and now it's on screen after lots of editing. And so you get to experience it as a viewer and learn things that you didn't know. For example, Brenton, when he first came into the house, pretended he didn't know what the game was all about. Did you fall for that?
Completely. I wish it's funny. You sit there now, and obviously some of us are still really close and some of us still speak, and you'll message the people you're close with and you're kind of like, what? We are dumb. Like it's like reliving Big Brother all over again, where you're like, oh my God, I was blind. Because again, you're in the game, and I think people are trying to look for genuine connections, especially with the OGs, obviously, other than Tim and borderline Drew, but they weren't really, they were strategic in a way, but it was like a messy strategy. I wouldn't say it was a very gameplay moves. Everyone kind of played in a keep your friends in game, which I played something very similar. It's still a strategy, but it's not as, I don't think it's as thought out. It's like, let's survive today and react tomorrow, where like Tim, the likes of Johnson, even Joel, when he was in the game, he would always talk to me and be like, no, Gab, you need to think like weeks in advance. And in my head as well, I was like, dude, I need to make it this far. Like I'm surviving day by day in this place. You can think all you want, but what if I don't get there? So no, the OGs, it was fun all round. I love the different perspectives of gameplay, but watching it back, you almost feel it's like you relive everything again, which is insane to go through, because I don't know many experiences that offer that, because we've done it. I felt everything I did in the house, and then 6 months later, I'm like, someone says something behind my back and I'm like, oh, that hurt. And then like another blow, or it's a very interesting experience having to watch it back after so many months later. But yeah, again, like we see Brenton, incredible performance. He wants to be an actor, I'm pretty sure. So, I mean, he's
got the chops for it.
Yeah, he can make the tapes using Big Brother at this point.
It's interesting what you say, though. People gossip behind our backs all the time, and you don't usually get to hear it, especially sometime later, 6 months or whatever it is. Can you let it go? Do you feel like it's just part of the game, or do you like, does it hurt like a knife in the back?
It's so hard. I'd like to say most of the time, something I really struggled with in the house was being vulnerable, because I'm like, feelings, not good at it, but I'm slowly getting better, I would like to say. But no, it does. Like you really don't want it to. And you kind of sit there and you're like, it's just a game. It's just a game. It's just a game. But it does hurt. I personally think I'm getting over it quicker than probably what I would have 6 months ago. But no, every kind of stab hurts. Or when someone was like, oh, I wasn't throwing your name around, but then they were, and you're kind of like, oh, damn it. Once I'd known. Or yeah, it's I feel like people are in two mindsets about it. Like I try my best to not get hurt by it, but yeah, it still stabs. It stings a little. Of
course. Was there ever a point where you felt like you were driving who was going to be voted out that night?
A little bit. It was really
And who was your target, and did it succeed?
I mean, a couple times. Obviously, people will always underestimate a floater or a middle player, not realize how much control we have of the game,
because people are after your vote.
100%. Like I can remember, it's almost like you're getting pulled either way, and you're listening to all these stories. And I can remember the pinnacle point. I realized how important I kind of felt. Well, I didn't really know. I kind of was like, oh, I just don't know what I'm doing. When Joel was when he wanted Drew to go home, and he obviously had said his little threat. And I was like, if Joel is this worried, that means I must be a very pinnacle kind of vote and a pinnacle player so far. So that's when I kind of realized, I was like, oh my goodness, being in the middle is way more fun than picking a side. Like I'm unpredictable, and being unpredictable in Big Brother, I think is just, I mean, look at Tim. It's everything. It works.
And that's an interesting thing that you say about Tim. You would think that he would be a target because of his unpredictability and the way he plays big. But people were scared to vote for him. He's still there.
110%. I remember, like, I loved Tim, but I sat in the diary room and I was like, I would want to be the one that sends him home. It's not Reggie where you're kind of a little bit worried and it's the queen. Like, to beat a mastermind at his own game, that would have been incredible. So I think there was a lot of, I don't know even if it was Tim that was giving the fear factor out, but people knew if you took your shot and missed, it wasn't going to end well.
Yes.
So I think people still are very tentative in every move they make surrounding Tim because Tim is clever. So
he really, really is.
Yeah.
Is there anything that happened during the shoot that didn't make it to air that you're like, they really should have put that in?
I have two really cool things. So my first one would definitely be the relationship between Trevor and I.
Right. I didn't really see much of that from memory.
No, Trev would have been my closest person in the house, hands down.
Right.
Which is odd. And I remember I even said it in the eviction when Trev went because I was next to him. And I said to Sonia, I was like, if you had told me that this 48-year-old man was going to be my best friend at the start of this experience, I would have laughed. Like, I would have giggled. I would have said absolutely not. But no, Trev and I had this really beautiful father-daughter kind of duo bond. And it was really, I just feel like that was one of the relationships that was really missed. Like, I think we hit day 21 or something and he was like, Gab, have you washed your clothes? And I was like, no. And he's like, go wash them. He was like, go wash them. And he's like,
Gabby.
I know, I'm a little bit of a messy human so far. I think every time people have been asked who was the messiest housemate, it has been me. So, I mean, consistency is incredible. I think
you're looking like you've had a scrub and a wash. You're looking wonderful.
I am very much like, if my hair is put together, then I am. So it's almost like a facade. But no, that was definitely one. And then Trev and I together, actually, I love talking. It's something I could do all day if given the opportunity. And we created this little podcast called Gift of the Gab. So it was me and I'd sit in the two little white chairs that were in the lounge room and I would like interview housemates, but I would also use it if like you sit and like I would get information out of them in a really fun and lighthearted manner, but they would have
this sounds great.
I know, it was really fun. And then even I remember when we had Sam and Drew in the house, I would kind of pulled apart their like the relationship and I was like, do we see this working on the outside? Be honest. And it was really fun. It was really cool and everyone had a good giggle about it.
They actually should have released that as a podcast while the show was going to air, in line with when you did it.
Yeah, or even like in the exclusive videos, I thought maybe it might come to light, but no, that my little Gift of the Gab podcast didn't make the air, which was a shame. But
Gift of the Gab, I like that. Good name for a podcast, Gabby.
Yeah, it started as Spilling the Tea with Your Friend G, and then we developed Gift of the Gab.
You workshopped it. I love it. You were such a fabulous housemate. It was really interesting watching you. You gave everything your all, I felt, and you did have to scramble being the floater. It provided interesting moments. What's your big takeout of your Big Brother experience?
Like the biggest thing I've learned?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. I feel like so much. I feel like my greatest achievement out of it was being able to walk away really content. Like I didn't regret anything. Nothing I said I didn't feel like myself. Even watching it back as well, I feel really lucky and really grateful. And I see myself on screen, not this complete different stranger that some people felt like they got in their edit. So one of my really beautiful friends, who we've been friends since early on in high school, and she just said, I hope you go on and when it comes to air, you realize that you're enough. And I just thought it was the sweetest thing. And I guess I didn't think about it until during the experience and afterwards, but I feel like I've always second guessed myself or lacked confidence, which sounds so silly because I did reality TV, but like we're not all perfect and we're not bulletproof. So I think it's been really awesome to kind of walk away and be like, yeah, I like me and I'm comfortable in me and I'm proud of me, which I think is pretty cool at 22.
Gabby, I think that at any age to come to that realization is pretty amazing. So good on you and well done on your Big Brother experience. I look forward to seeing you at the finale in Sydney. It'll be a big night.
Yay.
And it'll be a lot of fun.
Party, so
What was that?
I said we have to find an after party.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Congratulations on your Big Brother experience. I think you did amazing. You saw off some very big players. You outlasted a lot of people. Congratulations, Gabby.
Thank you. That means the world. So, yeah, thank you so much.
Cheers.